welcome back to another episode of Why I Love BNI, your podcast spotlighting different businesses and different chapters on what they love about their business, how they service their community, and of course, being a part of the BNI family. So today, I'm super excited to have our guest Ken with us today. Ken, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm super excited to get into this interview. We've met a few times, I believe, at like some different BNI events, like
hmm
roundtables, and of course, I visited your chapter up in Jacksonville last week, which, of course, was an amazing chapter. I had no doubts in my mind, but it really did blow me away. So, it sounds like you're involved with some great people up there. So, why don't you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help people?
So I am an account executive with a company called Deluxe, and I hold a merchant services seat in Profit Builders. And so basically, I help businesses of all size, small, medium, large, with their payment processing needs. So anything from your credit card, debit card payments to ACH payments. We also do um, some cash funding. So if somebody needs an influx of cash, we have that available as well. And being that we're what's considered a direct processor, we're not a third party, we are able to lower the cost of processing those payments dramatically.
Oh, wow, that's super cool. Maybe not everyone finds this topic as interesting as I do. So I will take nerd ownership of that. But growing up, my family owned a restaurant and we had our point of sale systems.
hmm
And those were super fun for me to play around with as a child. I should not have been, but I did. But the POS systems and all of this services have dramatically changed within the past, maybe 10, 15 years, or maybe
hmm
even the last 5 years. Are there any new features that maybe if someone has been with their system 20 plus years and they don't even realize that you guys are able to now do this for their business, if that makes sense?
Yeah, we are always integrating with different software that's out there to provide another source basically to
Mm.
process those payments. One of the big ones is that we have been seeing a lot recently is a lot of companies, especially small businesses, use QuickBooks.
Mm.
And QuickBooks, those business owners know that it's a very expensive, when it comes to the processing of the payments, it's very expensive. Where we actually, because of our place in the industry, we have a fully automated integration with QuickBooks.
Wow.
So it allows, as we like to say, it allows you to bring your processor with you, so that it doesn't change your workflow at all. It doesn't change anything that you're doing in QuickBooks. Just that when you receive the payment, it's going through our service instead of going through QuickBooks service. So
Mm.
we're typically seeing anywhere from a 30 to 40% decrease in those costs through that automation.
Wow. Oh, I know so many people could definitely benefit from something like that, especially
hmm
it takes not only, of course, the money away from that, like you don't have to spend as many on the fees, but I think also it takes away that mental headache, which I think a lot of business owners, especially once you get deeper and deeper in your business, sometimes it's easier to just take those headaches away, not have to think as many steps in. And you're like, I don't know, I
hmm
don't really care if it's a little bit more money sometimes, which in this instance, and not it isn't even really that much more. But to take that mental headache away is, I know, priceless for just so many small businesses.
Yeah, and we're seeing in our industry that um, business owners of all sizes, I mean, even large corporations, once they set their, they get their payment processing set up, they kind of just put it on autopilot. And then
Mm.
they never check statements. They're not going back and looking at exactly what they're paying. So, what they signed up for 5 years ago may have been at the time a decent program, but now because of increases over 5 years and they've never kept up with it, now they're paying twice as much as they were before, and they didn't even realize it because they're not monitoring it.
Yeah.
And so
That's
that's
it.
where we come in to help with. And a lot of business owners, the statements are so confusing they don't want to read them. So we
Yeah.
come in and we try to educate on
Yeah.
what's
Or
what.
it's one of those things, or especially if you're the boss, you're running your own, and say you run a brick and mortar, which I know from experience, not like my personal, but my family experience.
Hmm.
It's a lot. And then the last thing you want to do at the end of the day, if you close at, 9 or 10 o'clock, you have to close. Now you have to go look through monthly statements, all these statements, and how to sort them. And was it really this much, 5 years ago? How do I even remember some stuff like that? And it's
Hmm.
really hard to stay on top of it, but that's why they have an expert like Ken in their back pocket, right? To call up and say,
Right.
"Hey, can you help me with this?"
And that's being local here in Jacksonville. For the market, we have an office right off of Belfort Parkway,
Mm,
a full staff here. Um, that's another benefit of our company is that there's somebody here local that you can reach out to, and it's not just working out of their house as a remote rep. So we have in our company, we do everything that we do is in-house too. So we don't outsource anything. Um, no, we don't outsource our customer service. We don't outsource our
mm,
installation team, nothing. It's all done and kept in-house for quality controls issues. So, and our industry for over the years has never been known for great customer service. Um, it's just a fact. It's unfortunate, and it's because
right.
99% of the companies out there are outsourcing their service. And we've actually been fortunate enough to win now 12 years in a row. Have won the number one customer service in the industry. So we're
Wow,
very,
congrats.
very, very proud of that. And if you have any questions or concerns or issues when you call, you actually get somebody who picks up the phone.
Wow, that's
So,
perfect. Well,
mhm.
speaking of, if anyone's interested in learning a little bit more about what you guys do and how maybe you're able to start streamlining more of their services, what's the best way people can reach out to you or your company?
They can just reach out to me directly through my cell phone number. You want me to give you the number?
It's up to you. I mean, I
Okay.
think I think you shared it with me, so I can put it in the description if anyone needs it.
Yeah.
But if you want to say it as well, it's totally up to you. But I'll definitely
Yeah.
have that information in the description. If people want to click, copy and paste, check it out, definitely give Ken a call. It's worth your time. But just gonna switch gears just a little bit. I
Hmm.
mean, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your BNI journey. Who was the first person that invited you?
So it was actually a year ago at this time. I met Britt Graves, who's in the Profit Builders chapter, and we just met by chance at the Home and Garden Show. This
Oh,
actually, I think it just went on this last weekend, and um, yeah, so my wife and I were just there going around the Home and Garden Show, just like a regular, just visiting, and got to talking to Britt, and and she just said, we don't have anybody in your seat in our chapter. Have you ever heard of BNI? I'm like, never heard of it. So she went in and explained it all to me and invited me to come. And um, so I visited a couple different times and then went through the application process.
well, there you go. That's super cool. I've also been in
Hmm.
BNI just basically about a year. So seeing as we're both, pretty new members and everything, especially because you are in such a big chapter. If anyone is watching and they don't know what Profit Builders is, it's the BNI chapter in Jacksonville, or I think technically like Jack's Beach is what
Hmm.
maybe the location is. And you guys have about 106 members, possibly 103 or so.
Yeah.
But in the triple digits, it is crazy. So how was
Hmm.
it for you when you first visit a chapter that big, and what have you liked about being a chapter that big?
Um, really, from the first visit, from about 20 minutes in, I knew that's where I wanted to be.
Mm,
Um, I could just feel the energy, feel the positive vibe, feel the camaraderie, um, everybody in here and listening how everybody's helping everybody with their business, and then that they were chapter of the year in 2023, and now again in 2024.
yes.
You know, um, yeah, it's a very vibrant, very I like structure. I like being everything being very meticulously done, and because of the size of that group, there has to be a lot of structure. And
Definitely.
yeah, just to get through the meetings on time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then I've just come to find, the people are just phenomenal. They're just so willing to help, and everybody's looking out for each other and everything that would expect it to be.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys are just such a helpful chapter. I've had the pleasure of interviewing several members from your chapter, and I also got the pleasure of visiting last week. And it was pretty much everything everyone said it was going to be. It was fast, it was punctual. There was the perfect structure that you were talking about. Everyone, and I think this is very important too, is that it's easy to put a structure in place, but if people aren't respecting it, then it doesn't matter, right? If
Right.
people don't actually sit down at the end of their 30 seconds, then it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
And everyone did for, I'm pretty sure every single person, which is 100 people, which is great that everyone is just so trained to respect each other's time, because when
Hmm.
you take longer on yours, then you're starting to cut into other people's times, and now it's late for everyone, and it's a whole ripple effect. So
Hmm.
it's super cool to see it in person with your guys' chapter. Is there anything that you've learned maybe in the past year as being a newer BNI member that you'd love to pass on to anyone even newer than us?
Um, what I think what I do this with a lot of things in my life. If you once you join, you know, jump in with both feet.
Mm,
Learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. Get through your passport, get everything signed and ready so that you can as fast as possible, so that you can get out there and start doing the one-to-ones.
yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's been a key to the success that I've had within BNI, and um, being able to help quite a few of the members in my chapter. And then you also have to get involved and get outside of your chapter,
Mm, yeah.
get out
Like us.
if you're, I look at it as an investment, because it's not inexpensive to join.
Sure.
Um, but the return on the investment, I don't think there's anything any better out there. But you have to, if you're going to make that kind of investment, you have to make sure that you're investing in following the system, investing the time and the energy, um, and use with BNI what it's there for, the whole giver's gain philosophy. And it's not about just you and you getting business, but it's about helping as many people as you can,
Yeah.
um, as well. So,
Yeah. I really love that that you mentioned to get everything out of BNI, you definitely have to immerse yourself in the entire system. And I
mhm,
forgot that you guys have a system. We don't have technically have it, though maybe it's a BNI thing and maybe our chapter just doesn't do it. Is we don't make people finish the passport before you start the one-to-one process. So I think it's a huge incentive for you guys to finish your passport as soon as possible before you get those one-to-ones. But also you're just set up for success. You're not throwing
mhm,
everything in as much as like, all right, you're here, good luck. It's like, all right,
mhm,
follow the structure and do what we're telling you, when you craft your 30 seconds, when you craft your one-to-one sheet, when you conduct a one-to-one, how do you make sure it's as productive as possible? So specifically, you and the other person in the one-to-one can get the most, you know, maximized for that hour or maybe half hour you're together. So
mhm.
that's super cool to hear. And I'm so glad to hear that you were one of those people to just go dive first. All right, I'm in BNI full speed ahead.
Mhm.
Let's go
Yeah,
for the ride.
yeah,
um,
and if again, it's you only get out of something what you put into it. It's that old saying.
exactly. Hmm.
And just with the one-to-ones as an example, I mean, it's just everybody seems to do them a little differently.
Sure.
Um, um, but I found, the ones within our chapter, for instance, it's pretty well the same structure for everybody. I mean, everybody kind of has been taught, you know, the
Yeah.
most, quote unquote, the most effective way to do it. So,
There
um,
you go.
yeah,
That's awesome. Well, Ken, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. Like I said, this is actually a really fun topic for me. So it was super cool to learn about all the new things you guys are doing. And
yeah,
again, I'll make sure I have all of Ken's information in the description. You can click, copy, paste, whatever, check out, and just, start having conversations, right? Just reach
yeah,
out to Ken if you have any questions. I'm sure he'll
yeah.
be
No,
happy to answer.
yeah, and I'm going to tell you where you stand, and if we can, if we can't help you, or you know, I think people, they respect and like the honesty. Sometimes it's brutal honesty, but it's, I think people want to know where they stand, and
exactly.
If we can help them, great. And if we can't, then I'll tell you that too. And we'll still be friends, you know?
We'll still all be friendly at the end of the day. That's perfect. So
Absolutely.
thank you
Absolutely.
again for the time. I really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
Of
All right. Thanks for
course.
having me.
And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.